Question number 1. Four types of cell found in the leaf of a green plant are listed below: epidermal cells, guard cells, palisade mesophyll cells, and spongy mesophyll cells. Which cell structures contain chloroplast? Now we know that the guard cells, spongy mesophyll cells, and palisade mesophyll cells contain chloroplast, but the epidermal cells don't. So the answer will be, according to this, the answer will be C. C will be the correct answer. Which statement about osmosis is correct? Glucose molecules can move by osmosis. Now we know that osmosis is only for water, so this is incorrect. Molecules pass through a partially permeable membrane. Yes, this is correct. And finally, molecules move down a water potential gradient. This is also correct. So answer will be 2 and 3, which is D part. A seedling is placed within its roots in a solution containing potassium ions and left for 48 hours. The relative concentrations of the potassium ions are shown in the table. Now we've been provided with the table. How did the potassium ions enter the cell? Now at the start of the experiment, the concentration of ions are higher in the solution than in the root hair cells. So first, they will move by diffusion, and secondly, after 48 hours, the concentration is higher in the root hair cell and lower in the solution. So then it will move by active transport. So the answer will be A part. So A is the answer. Moving on. Question 4. Enzyme action can be explained by the lock and key hypothesis. Where is the active site and where does the substrate act as the lock or as the key? Now as we know, active site is on the enzyme and the substrate acts as a key. So the answer will be B. Let me just quickly highlight B, then we can move on. Alright, moving on. Some organisms live at the bottom of the sea where it is very dark. To synthesize glucose, they use energy from chemicals in the very hot water that comes out of volcanoes. What is the distinguishing feature of these organisms? Their enzymes are easily denatured by heat. They do not contain carbon dioxide. They do not need to be green. They obtain energy only as carnivores. Now, we can easily see that they synthesize glucose. This means that they perform photosynthesis, but it's very dark down there, so they have their own way of making photosynthesis work without light. So they do not need chlorophyll, which uses light energy from the sun. So that means that they do not need to be green, and due to this, the answer is C part. Now, which graph shows the effect of temperature on the rate of oxygen released by an aquatic plant when placed in strong light? Alright, now as we know, the rate of it will be a now let me just show you why the other answers are incorrect. Now as you can see, D part is not correct because as the temperature increases, oxygen does increase, but up till the optimum temperature. After optimum temperature, the rate of oxygen will decrease because the above optimum temperature, the rate of oxygen release will decrease. So D is incorrect. C is also incorrect because it is showing inverse relation. While there is no inverse relation between temperature and oxygen. Rate of oxygen increases as temperature increases till optimum. D is also incorrect because the place where optimum temperature, which is right after 30, the rate of oxygen release should be maximum, but it is showing it as minimum. So A is the correct answer. The diagram represents a cross section of a part of a leaf. How does the light content of the air at X compare to normal atmospheric air when the leaf is in light and it is in dark? And when it is in dark, okay. Now when light is present, oxygen will be higher at X because oxygen will be produced due to photosynthesis. But when it is dark at X, when it is dark, the location inside the plant leaf, in the leaf at X, the carbon dioxide concentration will be more because the plant would be performing respiration. So oxygen concentration would be lower there. Carbon dioxide concentration would be higher. So A is the answer. What is the main function of the colon? It absorbs digested food material, it absorbs water, it gets rid of undigested food material from the body, it produces enzymes to digest food. Now this is pretty simple. B is the answer because absorbing water is the function of the colon. Which foods can be eaten to prevent scurvy, anemia, and rickets? Now, scurvy is occurs due to the lack of vitamin C. So, scurvy can be treated by orange and lemons, which is C and D. Now, now rickets is caused due to the lack of calcium, which can be treated by using cheese and milk, which is shown in here. And anemia is caused due to lack of iron, which can easily be taken solved by using red meat. So D is the correct option. A person who has coeliac disease has flattened villi in their ileum. If a person with disease eats the same quantity and types of food as a disease-free person, they will have lower levels of glucose and amino acids in their hepatic portal vein. Which row explains this? Now, as the villi are flattened, their surface area will reduce, but this does not have to relate necessarily to capillaries not being able to absorb glucose molecules. The surface area of the ileum is reduced, thus less glucose is absorbed. It is not related to capillaries. So C is the answer. What is least likely to increase the transpiration rate in a plant? Increased humidity, increased sunlight, increased temperature, and increased wind. Now we know that due to increased sunlight, the stomata of a plant opens and transpiration rate increases. Due to increased temperature, more transpiration occurs as the plant needs cooling. And due to increased wind speed, the water vapor gradient also increases, so more transpiration occurs. So A is the only choice due to which transpiration rate will not increase. Increased humidity will decrease the transpiration rate, as the water vapor gradient will also decrease. Question 12. The diagram shows part of a tree trunk. A ring of bark including the phloem has been removed. Okay, so we can see from the tree trunk they have removed a bark which contained the phloem. Okay, the tree will eventually die because removing the bark stops the transport of. Now, as the phloem is removed, so the transport of prepared food materials is also stopped. So let's see. Mineral salts to the leaves. No, that is done by the xylem. Organic nutrients to the roots. Yes, this is correct. Oxygen to the roots and water to the leaves is not the function of the phloem. Its function is organic nutrients to the roots. Which of these organs will receive blood from both an artery and a vein? Now we know that the liver receives blood both from an artery and the vein, while the lungs and kidney do not. So C will be the correct answer because the liver receives blood from the hepatic artery as well as the hepatic portal vein. So C is the correct answer. The diagram shows a section through the human heart which suggests that blood leaves the heart at different pressures when going to the lungs and to the body. Okay, let's see. Chambers R and S have different volumes. No, this is incorrect. The walls of the atria are thinner than the walls of the ventricles. No, this does not explain it because from atria the blood enters the ventricles, not the lungs or other parts of the body. Wall P is stronger than wall Q. This is also incorrect. Wall T is more muscular than wall U. Yes, this is correct because as the left ventricle is more thick, thus it produces a high pressure circulation to the body, while the wall U, which is the right ventricle, is thin, so it produces a low pressure circulation to the lungs. The diagram shows the chemicals being exchanged between some cells and a blood capillary. Okay. What could be identities of chemical P and Q? Now the capillaries always supply blood and glucose or amino acids to the cells, while the cells give back carbon dioxide and unwanted materials back. So let's see. P. So as we can see, A, it is written amino acids and glucose, which is possible, but for D, it is written carbon dioxide and maltase, which is incorrect. It is carbon dioxide and water. B is carbon dioxide for P, which is incorrect, and for C part, carbon dioxide and urea is written, which is also incorrect because the capillary supplies with useful materials, not waste materials. And as we can see for D, glucose and oxygen, while Q is carbon dioxide and water, which is being returned to the capillary by the cell, which is correct. Question 16. How many molecules of lactic acid will be produced by the breakdown of 2 molecules of glucose in anaerobic respiration? Now let me show you. Now as we can see, one glucose molecule becomes 2 lactic acid molecules. So 2 glucose molecules will become 4 lactic acid molecules, which is written as part B. So B is the correct answer. Which process does not require energy from respiration, converting amino acids into proteins, diffusion of oxygen into the blood, keeping body temperature at 37, mitosis. Now, keeping body temperature requires energy, mitosis requires energy, and converting amino acids into proteins also requires energy, but diffusion, as we know, does not require energy. So B is the answer for 17. By which route does oxygen pass into the blood? Alright. Now we can easily see that first the oxygen enters the trachea, then the bronchi, then bronchioles, then alveoli, and finally capillaries, which can be seen as D. Which organ excretes most carbon dioxide from the human body? Now this is quite simple. The answer will be B part, because our lungs excrete most of carbon dioxide. It does whenever we exhale. Question 20. Which structures are all involved in controlling human body temperature? Blood vessels near the skin surface, the cerebellum and sweat glands. Blood vessels near the skin surface, the hypothalamus and skeletal muscles. Kidneys, the cerebrum and sweat glands. Kidneys, the hypothalamus and skeletal muscles. Now C and D are incorrect, because the kidneys are not involved in controlling body temperature, while the hypothalamus, skeletal muscles and blood vessels are involved. So B is the correct answer. The cerebellum is not involved in controlling body temperature, so A is incorrect.